Everyone laughed when I told them I got a night shift job at the gas station outside town. Easy money, they said. No one goes there after midnight. But that was the point. No one normal does. On my first night, the manager, a hollow-eyed man named Rick, slid me a handwritten sheet of paper. The ink was smeared, words shaky, like he'd written it in a hurry. Read the rules. Don't break them. Ever. I smirked, expecting petty things like no free snacks or no friends hanging out. But the first line chilled me. Rule 1. If a customer arrives without headlights on, do not serve them. Pretend the register is broken. I frowned and looked up. Rick didn't smile. His lips trembled like he wanted to say something else, but didn't. He just muttered, "They're not what they look like," and left me alone with the buzzing lights and humming coolers. By midnight, the gas station was silent. Only the sound of the old fridge humming and the occasional creak of the building. The rules sat in my pocket, scratching at my thoughts. At 12:17, headlights swept across the lot, too bright, too close. But when the car stopped at pump 3, I realized the headlights weren't on. They were painted on. Flat, unmoving. A man stepped out, dressed in a business suit. His face was wrong. Too smooth. No lines, no pores, no real skin. He walked stiffly toward the door. I remembered the rule. My hands shook as I tapped on the register, pretending it was broken. "Sorry, can't ring anything up." My voice cracked, but the thing just stared. Its eyes, if they were eyes, didn't blink. They reflected nothing, just dark, endless circles. It tilted its head, watching me, then without a word, walked back to the car. The car didn't drive away. It simply vanished. 1 second it was there, the next it was gone, leaving the pump still dripping fuel onto the cracked concrete. I locked the register screen and pulled out the rule sheet again, my fingers shaking. The next line read, Rule 2. If you hear knocking from the supply closet, do not open it. Do not answer. I almost laughed in relief. Easy enough. Don't open a door. But at 12:43, a soft knock echoed from the back room. 3 steady raps, patient. Then silence. My stomach twisted. I tried to ignore it, counting cans on the shelf. The knock came again, harder this time. Slow, deliberate. Whoever, or whatever, it knew I was listening. The sound stopped, replaced by a whisper through the door, Daniel. My name. My chest tightened. Rick hadn't even told me how it could know me. I gripped the counter and shouted, "Go away." My voice cracked. The whisper repeated my name, softer now, dragging it like it enjoyed the shape of the word. I ran back to the front, heart racing. That's when I noticed the security cameras flickering. Every monitor showed the gas pumps, but one screen glitched, showing something impossible. It was me, standing outside pump 6. Except I was inside. My double was just standing there, staring directly at the camera. His mouth moved, but no sound came through. I slammed the monitor off. The rules flashed in my head. Rule 3. If you see yourself outside, do not acknowledge it. Do not wave. Do not meet its eyes. I crouched behind the counter, refusing to look. A woman stepped inside, pale, her hair damp as if she'd come in from rain. But outside, the lot was bone dry. She smiled at me too wide. "Can I use your phone?" My throat tightened. The rules didn't mention anything about lending the phone. My hand hovered near it. But when she smiled again, her teeth were all the same size, small, uniform, like doll teeth. I muttered, "Sorry, it's broken." She tilted her head, watching me too long before finally whispering, "Good choice." Then she turned and walked back out into the night. Her footsteps didn't fade. I could still hear them outside, circling the building, though she was long gone. Each crunch of gravel tightened my chest. I gripped the paper again. Rule 4. Do not step outside between 1 o'clock and 3 a.m. No matter what you see, stay inside. At exactly 1:12, the station lights flickered. Through the glass, I saw figures gathering at the pumps. Dozens of them, faces blank, skin gray, clothes damp like they'd crawled out of a river. They stood still, watching the building, unmoving. My reflection in the window was gone. Only theirs remained, pressed against the glass. The knock on the supply closet returned, louder, desperate now. "Daniel," it hissed. "They're not real. Let me out." My legs shook. The door handle rattled from the back, violently this time, like something was slamming against it. The front glass creaked under invisible weight. I screamed, "Stop." And then, as if obeying, everything went silent. The closet door stopped rattling. The figures outside dissolved into the night. I sank behind the counter, drenched in sweat, clutching the paper like a lifeline. I had made it through the first hour, but the rules sheet felt heavier now, as if more words were written than before. I unfolded the sheet again. My stomach dropped. New lines had appeared, written in the same messy ink. Rule 5. If you hear static on the radio, turn it off immediately. Do not listen to the voices. As if on cue, the old radio behind the counter crackled to life. Static hissed, then a faint voice broke through, whispering my name over and over. I lunged for the dial, but the voice sharpened. "Don't trust the rules, Daniel. They want you here forever." My hand froze. The voice turned into laughter, high, distorted, like a broken cassette. I slammed the radio off and shoved it under the counter, my ears still ringing. I tried to breathe, but the buzzing lights overhead dimmed until the station was cloaked in shadow. The only glow came from pump 3 outside, flickering like a dying flame. The monitor turned on by itself, the static clearing. My double was back, this time inside the store, standing right where I was. It waved slowly at the camera. I stumbled back, shaking my head. "Not real," I whispered. The rules repeated in my head. "Do not acknowledge it." But it smiled wider, lips peeling too far. The chime rang again. I froze. The door hadn't opened, but something had walked in. The air grew colder, heavy like someone breathing against my neck. A row of snack bags crinkled as if touched by invisible hands. Footsteps padded down the aisle, dragging uneven. I crouched lower behind the counter, clutching the sheet. The next line was already there. Rule 6. If the aisles shift, do not follow them. The path will not lead back. I peeked over the counter. The shelves weren't where they'd been. The candy aisle stretched longer, curving into darkness that didn't belong in the small store. Something shuffled within that impossible aisle, too tall, too thin. I dropped back down, squeezing my eyes shut. A soft clink echoed beside me. When I opened my eyes, a coin lay on the floor. Old, tarnished, its surface scratched with symbols I couldn't read. My hand reached for it without thinking. The coin was cold, pulsing faintly like a heartbeat. Whispers hissed from the impossible aisle, urging me to bring it closer. I shoved it into my pocket, and the whispers stopped instantly, replaced by silence so sharp it hurt. The lights flickered back on. The aisle snapped into place, short and normal again. But the cameras showed a shadow still lingering inside them. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "Don't keep the coin. It belongs to the station." My blood froze. I hadn't told anyone about the coin. I pulled it from my pocket, but it clung to my skin, impossible to drop. The text came again. "If you carry it past 3 o'clock, you will not leave." I stared at the clock, 2:37 a.m. My shift wasn't even halfway over, and already the gas station was swallowing me whole. I shoved the coin deeper into my pocket, praying the text was just another trick. But the metal pulsed harder now, each beat in rhythm with my heart. The next rule appeared before my eyes as if ink bled into the page. Rule 7. If a customer asks for directions, do not answer. They are not going where you think. At 2:41, headlights swept into the lot. A truck stopped at pump 1. The driver climbed out, face hidden in shadow. He stepped inside, boots wet, dripping mud. He didn't buy anything. He just stood there, staring. Then in a low voice he asked, "Which way to the highway?" My throat locked. I shook my head, pretending not to hear. The man's head twitched, jerking like a puppet. "Which way to the highway?" The lights overhead snapped off, plunging us into darkness. My pulse hammered as I whispered, "I don't know." The silence that followed was suffocating. When the lights flickered back on, the man was gone. Muddy footprints remained, leading out the door, but stopping just before the edge of the counter. I swallowed hard, glancing back at the rule sheet. New words bled across it. Good. Do not speak to them. They'll follow you home. The closet door rattled again. This time, something inside slammed hard enough to shake the shelves. My name hissed through the wood. I pressed my back against the far wall, shaking. The coin in my pocket vibrated violently, humming like a trapped insect. I yanked it out and placed it on the counter. Instantly, the closet went silent. The air lightened, but the coin rolled slowly across the surface, toward the door. It stopped at the edge, perfectly balanced. Then, without falling, it turned upright, standing on its edge as though invisible fingers held it. A whisper slithered into the room. You brought it back. The cameras buzzed, flickering between aisles. For a moment, every screen showed me, hundreds of versions of me, standing still, each holding the same coin. My stomach churned. Which one was real? Which one was me? The door chime rang, but no one entered. Instead, the air grew heavy, pressing against my chest until I could barely breathe. The rule sheet trembled in my hand. More ink bled across it. Rule 8. Do not accept money after 2:50 a.m. It is not money. The clock ticked to 2:51. A man approached the counter, his skin waxy, eyes wide. He set a bill down. Except it wasn't paper. It writhed, pulsing like flesh. I gagged, shoving it back at him. The man smiled. Teeth too many, too sharp. Good boy, he hissed before melting into the floor. The bill remained, twitching on the counter. When I touched it, it turned to dust. The coin pulsed brighter in my pocket, as if it were feeding on what had just happened. The hum of the lights returned, louder now, like bees trapped in the walls. The rule sheet shook in my hand, ink smearing into shapes I didn't understand. Another line appeared, Rule 9. At 3 o'clock, the station will test you. Do not fail. My heart sank. It wasn't telling me what the test was. The cameras all switched on at once. Each screen showed the pumps, and at every pump, someone stood waiting. Dozens of figures, blank-faced, unmoving. They didn't knock. They didn't enter. They only watched, every head tilted at the same impossible angle. The coin throbbed in my pocket, growing hotter, heavier. I pulled it out. It glowed faintly, symbols pulsing like veins under skin. The closet door burst open. I screamed, stumbling back. But nothing came out, only darkness deeper than the night outside, a void that swallowed the light around it. From that void, something whispered, "Give it back." The coin shook violently in my hand. My reflection on the monitor mouthed the same words. The front glass groaned. The figures outside pressed their hands against it, stretching the surface like water. Their faces began to ripple, melting into shapes I almost recognized. I staggered back. The rules warned me of everything, closets, aisles, customers, but not this. Not what was happening now. The coin burned into my palm. My knees buckled as whispers filled my skull, voices begging, screaming, demanding, keep it. Give it. Hide it. Return it. The lights exploded overhead, glass raining down. For a moment, the gas station was pitch black, the only glow radiating from the coin itself. When the lights flickered back on, the station was wrong. The aisles stretched into endless halls, the walls slick like flesh. The figures outside were inside now, surrounding me, circling, their heads twitching like broken puppets. The rule sheet fluttered from my hand. A final line scrawled itself, Rule 10, survive until dawn. Or become one of them. I screamed, shoving the coin into my pocket, clutching the paper tight. The figures closed in, their mouths stretching open too wide. The closet void roared, pulling at everything, the shelves, the figures, even the air. They clawed at the floor as they were dragged into it, screaming. The pull seized me too. My body lifted from the floor, skin stretching toward the darkness. I clung to the counter, the coin pulsing like a heartbeat against my thigh. A voice cut through the chaos, booming from everywhere and nowhere. Choose. Keep it, or return it. My vision blurred. The figures shrieked, clawing at me, their faces now twisted versions of people I knew, neighbors, co-workers, family. I clutched the coin, shaking, sweat pouring down my face. My reflection in the monitor leaned forward, whispering in unison with the void. What will you choose, Daniel? The coin pulsed harder, every beat syncing with my heart. The figures reached for me, their hands icy, their mouths opening in silent screams. The void pulled stronger, dragging shelves, glass, and even the cameras into its endless mouth. My fingers bled from gripping the counter, knuckles white with desperation. The booming voice returned, deeper now, rattling my bones. Choose quickly, or the choice will be made for you. I thought of throwing the coin in, ending this nightmare, but the moment I lifted it, the figures all froze. Their heads snapped toward me, eyes glowing with hunger. One stepped forward, face peeling into a grotesque grin. Give it to us, it rasped, voice like nails on glass. If I dropped it, would I survive? Or would I join them, my soul ripped apart like theirs? The rules never prepared me for this moment. The rule sheet fluttered at my feet, pages stained red. More words appeared across the paper, bleeding into existence. There is no safe choice. Only survival. Trust the coin. My breath hitched. Survival. But survival didn't mean safety. The figures pressed closer, their bodies jerking with unnatural movements, like puppets with tangled strings. I held the coin tighter, my reflection in the monitor glaring back, lips curling into something that wasn't my own. The void's pull grew unbearable. The nearest figure lunged, fingers brushing my throat. Without thinking, I slammed the coin against the counter. The station erupted in a soundless quake. The floor buckled, aisles collapsed into nothing, and the figures shrieked as they were sucked screaming into the darkness. My reflection didn't move. It only smiled wider, eyes glowing faintly, as though it knew something I didn't. The void roared like it was alive. Then silence. Just like that, the void closed. The station returned to normal, shelves upright, glass intact, pumps visible through the window. My chest heaved, sweat dripping into my eyes. It looked untouched, as if nothing had happened. But the figures were gone. The rule sheet lay perfectly on the floor, clean and crisp. A new line glowed on it. Congratulations, you passed tonight's test. Keep the coin. You'll need it again tomorrow. I staggered to the counter, the coin cool in my hand once more. My palms shook violently, blood smeared from where it had burned into me. My reflection was gone from the monitor. No, not gone. Replaced. In the darkness inside, a faint pair of glowing eyes stared back at me. I blinked hard, praying it was a trick of the light. But the eyes didn't vanish. A knock at the glass made me spin. A woman stood outside, dressed in pale clothes, her face hidden under long, wet hair. She lifted her hand and pointed at me, then at the coin. My heart thudded in my ears. She mouthed something over and over. I pressed closer to the glass to understand, and my stomach turned to ice. Her lips repeated the same word, again and again, return. Behind her, shapes stirred in the dark. The pumps lit up, all of them. Cars I hadn't seen arrive stood lined at each one, engines humming, headlights glaring through the night. Their windows were black, too black, swallowing the light. Something moved inside each car, silhouettes twitching, heads bending at impossible angles. The woman slammed her hand against the glass, harder this time. My pocket vibrated with the coin's pulse. The rule sheet shifted, and a final sentence appeared. Rule 11. Never leave before dawn, no matter what waits outside. My breath caught. The woman slammed the glass again, her hair peeling back to reveal a face of stretched, waxy skin and eyes that burned with hunger. The car's doors creaked open in unison, shadowy figures spilling out. I stumbled back, clutching the coin as the lights above flickered and hummed. Dawn wasn't far, but every second felt like an eternity in that cursed place. The figures outside froze, heads snapping toward the horizon. A faint orange glow cut across the night, splitting the sky with the first hint of dawn. The woman shrieked, her face twisting into something monstrous as she dissolved into mist. The cars vanished, the monitors blinked back to static. I collapsed behind the counter, gasping for air. The coin cooled, quiet now. My shift was over. But in the silence, one thought chilled me. Tomorrow night, it begins again.